everyone, and welcome to week 3 of Prehistoric Archaeology in Britain. Last week we examined the Mesolithic period, focusing on the sites of Skara, Avebury's Hole and the remains from Cheddar Gorge. This week we will be exploring the Neolithic period and examining a series of case studies exploring a range of aspects, including life, ritual and death during the Neolithic period. The Neolithic began in Britain around 6,300 years ago and ended around 4,500 years ago. The Neolithic is characterised by the advent of agriculture and the growth of farming communities. These changes result in increased sedentism, representing a move from hunter-gatherer communities to settled groups. The move to agriculture is also associated with new monument building practices and new burial practices, which we will cover in this lecture. Some of the sites and artefacts which we will examine in this lecture include Skara Brae Neolithic village in Orkney, Grimesgrave's flint mine, burial sites including West Kennet Long Barrow and Wayland Smithy tombs, alongside Stonehenge, one of the most famous sites in prehistoric Britain. Alongside the examination of these sites, we will also briefly discuss Neolithic mystery artefacts, including carved stone balls from Scotland and a set of artefacts known as the Folkton Drums from Yorkshire. We will be starting this week's lecture by focusing on the case study of Skara Brae Neolithic village in Orkney and exploring what daily life may have looked like in Neolithic Britain. Skara Brae dates from around 5,000 years before the present day. The site was uncovered due to a storm and subsequently excavated. It comprises a Neolithic village with 9 houses containing furniture. Artefacts recovered from the site include carved stone artefacts, potentially used in ritual practices, jewellery for personal adornment, and gaming dice. This detail of preservation has enabled archaeologists to understand Neolithic daily life in more detail. The site and its artefacts reflect a highly sophisticated society, with some aspects of daily life very similar to our own. Grimesgrave's is a Neolithic flint mine located in Norfolk. It dates from around 4,660 years before the present day, which is around 2,660 years BC. Over 400 mining pits have been discovered at the site, demonstrating the importance of flint mining to Neolithic communities. The site was used to mine flint for the purpose of working the flint into axes and other practical implements. Some axes were also polished by skilled workers within the communities and transformed into prestige items which may have been held by elites. These types of artefacts are especially interesting as they may be both practical and symbolic in use. Polished axes may imply conspicuous consumption of labour, which is the process by which labour is ostentatiously displayed, often by elite individuals within a community, as a way of displaying their power and/or wealth. We will now focus on so-called Neolithic mystery artefacts. These are archaeological artefacts, the function of which is unknown. These include carved stone balls and maceheads, alongside artefacts known as the Folkton Drums. Carved stone balls are found in Scotland and northern England. They are around the size of a tennis ball, and many are engraved and possess knobs or bosses, which range in number from 3 to over 100. However, most appear to have had around 6. Over 400 carved stone balls have been discovered so far. Their discovery locations often broadly correspond with the locations of Neolithic maceheads, which are artefacts interpreted as weapons. These may also have potentially had a ritual or ceremonial use, as they were carefully crafted from visually striking pieces of stone, and some are thought to have been ritually broken. The function of carved stone balls, however, is widely debated. Whilst some were found at sites such as Skara Brae, they are often found as single finds, not associated with a building or a wider site. Theories concerning their use include weaponry, partly due to their association with maceheads, gaming pieces, representations of the Platonic solids, or craftsman's exhibits. The Folkton Drums are 3 carved chalk drums found within a child burial in Yorkshire. Another artefact of similar form was found near Chichester and is known as the Lavant Drum. Due to the location of the artefact at the site of a burial, the Folkton Drums might have been thought to have had a ritual function. However, analysis of the drums has revealed that they may have functioned as measuring devices. Researchers indicated that a unit of measurement can be obtained by wrapping a cord a certain number of times around one of the drums. This suggests that they may have been instrumental in monument building during the Neolithic period. Whether the carved stone balls and the Folkton drums were ritual or practical in function is still a debated topic. However, one aspect which is particularly striking is the presence of decoration on the artefacts and the detail with which it has been engraved. Whatever their function, these artefacts were clearly important to the individuals and communities who created them. Moving on to discussion of death and burial, there are a number of different types of tombs, including chambered cairns, round barrows and bowl barrows, some of which date from the late Neolithic or early Bronze Age. West Kennet Long Barrow is an example of a chambered tomb. It was built 5,600 years before the present day and is constructed within the Stonehenge ritual landscape. The tomb contained 46 burials, including women, men and children. Interestingly, it was also not fully sealed while in use, so members of the community were able to enter the tomb and visit the dead. This example highlights the importance of interactions between the living and the dead during this time. We now move on to more case studies regarding death and burial. These case studies include Wayland's Smithy tomb, which was built around 5,590 to 5,400 years before the present day. It is situated in Oxfordshire within a landscape of ritual monuments. There was originally an earlier monument containing human remains, which was later selected as a location for a larger barrow constructed on top of the burial site. Legends grew up around the tomb during later periods. In fact, the name Wayland refers to the Saxon god of metalworking. This suggests that whilst the tomb's original associations may have altered over time, it remained an important monument in later periods. Another important case study is Maeshowe. This chambered tomb was built in Orkney around 4,800 years before the present day. Archaeologists, including Francis Pryor, have postulated theories concerning the monument's layout being similar to that of Neolithic houses. They suggest that it may have started its life as a house which then decayed over time, and the foundations of which became the layout for the tomb. Furthermore, the tomb is also aligned to the midwinter sunset, with light rays entering the tomb through the passageway. This has been linked to themes of rebirth and fertility by some scholars. However these tombs are interpreted, it is clear that the dead held a significant place within the lives of the living, and that tombs were ritually important monuments within the communities which constructed and used them. We now move on to a discussion of monumentality during the Neolithic, starting with the case study of Stonehenge. One of the most famous prehistoric monuments in Britain, some of the initial construction at Stonehenge occurred around 4,950 to 4,900 years before the present day. The monument we see today is defined by the 2 circles of stones within it, the blue stones, which represent the earlier part of the monument, and the sarsen stones, which represent a later addition to the monument. Analysis of the blue stones has suggested that they may have originally been part of an earlier monument in Wales, which was moved by the community which built them when they migrated. This evidence is supported by isotopic data from this period, which suggests that there were groups of people and animals migrating from Wales. This evidence from Stonehenge demonstrates the important links between monuments and group identity during the Neolithic period. One of the most important aspects of monumentality during the Neolithic is the link between monument alignments and different points in the solar calendar. Returning to the case study of Stonehenge, this monument is aligned towards the solstices, the longest day and the shortest day of the year. This reflects the importance of the solar calendar in the lives of the farming communities which built these monuments. Its importance is reflected in the context of farming and agriculture. Monuments such as these could have assisted with determining what crops could be planted or harvested when. There are also links to ritual feasting at monuments near Stonehenge, with butchered pig bones found at Darrington Walls, a nearby Neolithic monument and settlement site. The age of the pig bones suggested that feasting was occurring at set points during the year, potentially linked to rituals regarding the solar calendar. Monuments such as Stonehenge are also linked to the sphere of the dead. The cremation of the dead occurred at the site, and links can be demonstrated to other burial monuments, for example Maeshowe, which is also aligned to the midwinter solstice. This lecture has explored many aspects of the Neolithic period in Britain. Due to the range of evidence, this lecture has focused predominantly on Neolithic ritual and monumentality. However, there are many more aspects of life, industry and ritual during the Neolithic period which you can research further using the additional materials provided. Some of the most striking points covered in this lecture include the connection between the living and the dead through the construction of monuments on the sites of houses and leaving the tombs unsealed to allow the living access to the dead. We have also briefly explored some Neolithic industry, including flint mines at Grimes graves, and the idea of conspicuous consumption of materials and craftsmanship. Other ritual elements which we have covered include the mystery objects, the use of which is unclear, but which were clearly important to the communities which created them. Finally, we have also explored monumentality and its links to death and rebirth, alongside its practical functions, for example, the links to important points in the agricultural calendar. This concludes the lecture for week 3. The following slides are included to present the sources used to create this lecture. I have also attached several links to further study resources for you to use to explore topics from the lecture further. Next week we will move on to the Chalcolithic period, focusing on the sites of Achavanich, the Amesbury Archer and Archer's Companion, and the Boscombe Bowmen. The themes we will explore next week include developing technologies and debates over migration during the Chalcolithic period. Thank you for listening.